Yes, lies, damn lies, and Sadiq Khan's statistics. In a week where Simon Levy has finally been convicted of yet another sexually motivated murder in London, we pause for thought, I think, because we are often told something by our illustrious mayor. Here we go.
We are, one of the safest, mega cities in the world.
Absolutely not, no.
I have heard that people are robbing phones every month, some thousands of phones, so how can you say it's safe?
I always feel quite safe. I think it's a very busy city, there's always people around. I always feel quite safe in London.
Well, there you go. This is GB News Originals. I'm Emily Carver. Please do give this video a like and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. And do leave a comment. Let me know what you think.
Well, mixed reviews there, shall we say. Sadiq Khan has been mayor since 2016, and his detractors, of which I am one, would say that he has presided over one of the most divisive and disingenuous periods of politics in regional history when it comes to London. We are told, as he said then, that London is one of the safest major cities in the world. First things first, I don't want London to be compared with the worst or most stabby place across the globe. I want London to stand alone as a safe place, a brothers keepers town where we all keep an eye out for one another. We know who the baddies are, we know who the goodies are, and the police get on with their job. Now, he will point to year-on-year statistics, because year-on-year, sometimes the statistics are in his favour. If you take 2025 versus 2026, it has dropped down. But if you take 2016 versus 2026, knife crime is up by 40%. That is enormous, and that's just knife crime. And statistics don't tell us one thing. They don't tell us how people feel. Statistics don't prevent you from not being able to get your phone out, not being able to put your bike somewhere without a lock, not allowing your wife or girlfriend or daughter or auntie to walk home alone at night. So I ask, why aren't we demanding better from the Mayor of London? Why are we arguing over carefully selected statistics instead of demanding a capital where everyone actually feels safe?
It's a good question, Paul. And Pablo, Paul did say he doesn't want London to be compared to the worst, stabbiest cities in the world. I agree with him, but you don't need to compare London to the worst, stabbiest cities. According to most of the safety indices, it ranks low to middle when it comes to global safety, below a lot of other European cities. For him to somehow say that this is a safe city is gaslighting, surely.
No, I think actually two things can be true at once. I think it can be true that London is like lots of cities, a busy place with lots of people where lots of things go wrong. It is also a great city where lots of things are going right. And it can be true that there are issues like this, but murders are down, violent incidents are down. It isn't true to say that on all the statistics that crime and violence is getting worse in London. But it is a big city where things are going to get wrong. And I think that, the Metropolitan Police, they've acknowledged their failings and, they've got to be held accountable for that. I think to say that this is gaslighting, I think is unfair.
Can I pick up on the murder statistic? Because it is the one that Sadiq always grabs at to say, well, look, everything is rosy. And I'd be very worried in a Western city if murder rates aren't continuously going down as you become more advanced and technology improves. But the fact is that knife crime has gone up since he started, sexual assaults have gone up, theft has gone up, or shoplifting has gone up. These are the key things that people worry about in the day-to-day, and they're the things that are getting worse.
Well, actually, I don't know that is the truth. The statistics that I saw that those were going down in the last year, despite population going up.
Well, I'm looking at Statista, which sounds statistically accurate if you got the name.
Well, the statistics that I saw reported were slightly different. But listen, I think the principle is we all obviously want a safe capital city. It is a big city. There are always going to be problems. I don't think that we should be labelling, we should be taking one incident like this and spreading it across the city. I just don't think that's a fair thing to do, even for the Metropolitan
It's amazing. The left always talk about lived experience. experience, but what about people's lived experience of being in London? I know
Touché.
so many. I mean, women certainly don't feel as safe as they did 10 years ago. When I was recently in Budapest, I felt so much safer walking around the streets of Budapest at night than walking around the streets of London. I would be very nervous walking around at like 1 a.m. by myself if I didn't have a man with me. People don't wear their jewellery or their watches anymore. People are having their phones snatched out of their hands. I see it all the time. I saw someone getting mugged for a steak a couple of years ago outside of a co-op in North London, a very nice part of North London. This is people's experience of their daily lives, and the point is that when you think the police aren't going to bother to solve the burglary or do anything about the shoplifting or do anything about your phone being snatched, you're not going to report it, and it's not going to be reflected in those statistics. I was just in Trafalgar Square just yesterday, and they've now put up these enormous kind of counter-terrorism barriers with these sort of big eyesore yellow gates, doorways that you have to walk through in order to get into Trafalgar Square.
Can we use the correct expression? They are diversity gates.
Diversity gates. Well, it's defensive architecture, and you see it now all over London.
So Sadiq Khan is telling us without telling us where the problem lies. Sadiq Khan's favourite line is diversity is our strength. What he never tells us is diversity from what? What are we diversifying away from? Well, we are clearly diversifying away from an incumbent native culture that no longer exists. And he is telling us the very reason why we are seeing such a crime epidemic.
I disagree. It's a complex one. I disagree with what you said, Amos. It's sort of sense that diversity is the reason why London's become what it was. London's always been a bit of a dicey city. Come on, let's be honest.
I'll be very clear.
Shakespeare himself described across the river.
So, Trey, let's go at sexual offences, and this is from the Telegraph as well, just so we're clear on where we're getting our sources from, Pablo. It's gone up 60% since he became mayor in 2016. If not diversity, why has it gone up to that enormous degree?
I think it would only make sense if there were people from diverse backgrounds actually doing it, but there's literally men are the danger. It's not a particular type of men, it's just men. And I do agree with them. Look, listen, on the one hand, you have to give him his flowers. Look, some of the official stats have gone better. But what I do agree with them is every time my wife is out, I have to admit I'm terrified, because the way she describes her experience of London is actually scary. She gets followed, she gets harassed and the rest of it. So I do get that. But I do think there's another side though. I think there is a lot of talking down of London, and London is not as bad as what people make it seem.
You've just said you're terrified when your wife goes out on a...
Shadow over the capital. The reality behind London's streets. Welcome to Britain Underneath, where we look past the polished press releases and examine what is truly happening across our nation. If you value sharp, uncompromising analysis of British political life, take a quick moment right now to hit that subscribe button. It directly supports our research and ensures this channel can keep bringing you the unfiltered truth. Now, let us dive straight into the heart of the matter. For millions of people, London was once viewed as the glowing jewel of Western Europe. It was a global beacon of commerce, culture, historical grandeur, and above all, order. Today, however, a very different atmosphere hangs over the capital. A growing sense of unease has settled into the routine of daily life, transforming how residents and visitors move through the metropolis. From the crowded thoroughfares of Oxford Street to quietly residential suburban avenues, the public mood has visibly shifted from civic pride to quiet apprehension.
At the centre of this debate sits the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, who has held the keys to City Hall since 2016. Throughout his tenure, the official narrative emanating from local leadership has remained remarkably consistent. We are routinely assured that London remains one of the safest major cities on the planet. We are presented with carefully selected statistical comparisons, seasonal drop-offs, and administrative milestones designed to reassure us that everything is strictly under control. Yet, for those who actually live, work, and commute here every single day, the disconnect between official statements and lived reality has never been wider. Consider the simple mechanics of modern street crime in the capital. The widespread prevalence of phone snatching and opportunistic theft has reached a point where holding a device near a road feels like an open invitation. E-bikes and mopeds mount pavements with alarming audacity, vanishing into side streets seconds after stripping a pedestrian of their belongings. Watch-snatching gangs operate with clinical precision in high-end districts, turning areas once associated with elegance into hunting grounds for illicit trade. These are not isolated incidents exaggerated by online commentary. They represent a fundamental erosion of normal public decorum. When low-level criminality goes largely unchecked, the social contract begins to fray at the edges. When citizens come to believe that reporting a stolen device, a broken window, or a street harassment incident will yield little more than an automated reference number for insurance purposes, trust in civil authority collapses. The stats may tell one story when curated over a selective 12-month window, but the broader decade-long picture reveals a starker truth. Knife crime, severe street offences, and public order concerns have tracked persistently upward over the longer horizon. This environment alters human behaviour in profound ways. Women, in particular, report adjusting their daily habits, carefully planning routes home, avoiding public transport late at night, or opting against going out alone altogether.
That single reality should pause any politician in their tracks. When half the population feels compelled to perform a constant internal risk assessment simply to navigate their own city after dark, claiming that everything is going according to plan is no longer just unconvincing, it borders on dismissive. It is worth asking why the response from leadership consistently focuses on public relations rather than visible, decisive action. City Hall frequently points toward funding constraints, central government policy, and complex socio-economic factors as the primary drivers of urban friction. While those elements surely play a role in any modern metropolis, leadership is ultimately defined by accountability. It is about setting priorities, insisting on high standards from law enforcement, and establishing an unequivocal presence on the ground that deters bad actors before crimes take place. Instead, Londoners have watched as physical security infrastructure has slowly transformed the capital's landscape. Defensive barriers, heavy concrete blocks, and gated entry points have become standard features of the urban landscape. Rather than projecting confidence, these physical measures serve as a constant visual reminder that the environment requires heavy containment. When a city relies on concrete obstacles to manage public space, while ordinary citizens worry about walking home from the station, the priority hierarchy appears noticeably inverted. If you are finding this breakdown insightful and appreciate a mature, straightforward assessment of British current affairs, please take a second to subscribe to Britain Underneath. Building this community relies entirely on viewers like you who demand thorough, level-headed commentary. So hitting that subscribe button really does make a massive difference to our work. The issue goes beyond physical safety to the very character of the capital. A great city requires more than bustling commerce and iconic architecture. It requires a baseline of public confidence. It requires an environment where small business owners do not have to budget for regular shoplifting losses as an inevitable operational cost. It requires transport networks where passengers do not feel obliged to keep their heads down and avoid eye contact to steer clear of confrontation. When basic standards of public order slip, the collective spirit of the city quietly suffers. When critics raise these legitimate concerns, the political defence often relies on comparing London to far more volatile global cities. We are told that relative to certain overseas locations, our statistics are manageable. But why should the standard for the capital of the United Kingdom be calibrated against the most turbulent places in the world? British standards of public safety were historically built on the principle of policing by consent and the expectation of low crime, high accountability, and clean, orderly public space. Dropping the benchmark to simply being less chaotic than the worst-case examples elsewhere is a profound failure of ambition. Part of the frustration stems from the perceived tone of municipal governance. There is a distinct impression that political energy is frequently diverted toward performative initiatives,
ideological debates, and media posturing, while the core responsibilities of local governance receive secondary attention. Ensuring that streets are safe, that visible policing is restored, and that law-breaking carries swift, meaningful consequences are not optional extras. They are the fundamental duties of any civic administration. This pattern of deflection has created a noticeable rift in public discourse. On one side, official spokespeople broadcast polished messaging declaring steady progress. On the other side, residents exchange warnings on neighbourhood forums, watch opportunistic crime unfold in broad daylight, and adapt their lives to an increasingly unpredictable environment. When official declarations contradict what people see with their own eyes, credibility dissolves rapidly. Addressing these challenges does not require political hostility. It requires an insistence on truth and higher standards. It demands that we stop accepting excuses for basic failures of public order. It requires holding elected leaders accountable for the tangible condition of our streets, rather than accepting curated statistics as a substitute for real security. London remains a remarkable city, rich in history and potential, but its strength depends entirely on the well-being and confidence of the people who call it home. To understand where our nation is heading, we must be willing to look directly at the issues beneath the surface, without dynamic spin or political convenience. Examining the realities of our institutions and our leadership is the only way to ensure that standards are raised and that our public spaces are restored to the standard the public deserves. Thank you for spending your time with us today on Britain Underneath. Take a breath, stay informed, and remember that staying engaged with the facts is the first step toward real accountability. If you want to keep following these critical developments, please subscribe to the channel now. Your support genuinely helps us grow and allows us to keep delivering the sharp, independent analysis you expect. Make sure to check back regularly for our upcoming releases, and we look forward to welcoming you back in the next video.